So for our second debate, we're going to be talking about Black fatherhood. Tips, mostly because I feel like dads in general don't really get enough credit. They don't really get spoken about enough or heralded enough. Some people might say, well, someone did say, one of the comments on the post that I made was, oh, why do they need credit for doing what they're supposed to do? And I can see why you might say that, but then on the flip side, moms get credit all the time. Like, women are always, you've got that image, you're Mother Earth, you're the mom, you look after the kids. It's, people just assume if you're a mom, you're a great mom. People don't go around assuming that you're a terrible mother unless they see something to make them think that. Whereas dads, there's just kind of an impression or a stereotype that dads, especially black dads, are just, they're either not there or they're not good dads or they're not involved. So I think it's good to, just shine a light on fatherhood, what it means to be a father, how it changes your life, and just really just celebrate men who are doing their best, because no one's perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect mom or a perfect dad. We're all just out here trying our best and hoping that we don't screw our kids up in the future. So, do you think dads get enough credit?
I mean, no, not at all. Not at all. And just like you touched upon the subject of the fact that women are just seen to be like these amazing people. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just
just putting that out there.
To be careful now.
Hey, I'm not here to be careful. So women are seen to be these amazing creatures, and then it's like you get men who are just like, oh yeah, he's there, he's all right, he's okay, and that's it. Like, he's a dad, and it's very plain. And I feel like men should be hailed as great people, and we're not, and that's what needs to happen right now. It needs to happen.
I didn't know this topic meant so much to you.
It's in my heart. It's in my heart.
I can tell you're feeling it. What about you two? Do you think dads get enough credit?
I don't, and I think mums don't get enough credit either. I think we should be hailing and recognising and cheering on all mothers, and particularly all fathers, especially in our community. We don't see enough tangible, real-life examples of what a good father should be. Yeah. So why not highlight that? Why not put that in front of kids, in front of parents, in front of, people, and say, this is what a dad should be. Yeah. This is a walking, living example of what a black dad should be. Yeah. And it's important because often as children we only see, or we only do what we see, and I hate for history and a cycle to repeat. Yeah. So if they're only seeing whack dads, which is, let's face it, something that's perpetrated in the media and on TV and in soaps and in all this, if they're only seeing that, then it's likely that they're going to think that that's how a black dad should be. Whereas if we speak about and we platform great dads who are doing amazing things, then they will say, well, actually, this is what a dad should be. So I say celebrate it all day long.
Good. So when you had kids, back in the generation before ours, it was not really seen as the manly thing to do, to really be that hands-on and involved in things like changing nappies. Like, there's a lot, I don't know if my dad ever changed my nappies. There's a lot of dads out there from generations ago who didn't change nappies or do bath time and stuff like that. How involved were you guys in nappies and baths and homework and hair?
I'm not gonna lie, I despise nappies. Don't get me wrong, I've changed my kids, but I'm saying if I can avoid it, I'm not gonna lie, I hate it. It's just a pet hate for me. But, obviously you do your bit in it, but I don't know, women kind of take the lead, especially for a woman who's having a first time child. Yeah. It's something for her to learn. So she kind of takes the lead on those things, but yeah, it's good to get involved in everything. I got involved in everything, but
I've never really thought about because you just said the woman tends to lead on those things, When I think about it, you just think, oh, the man, he just doesn't think that's his thing to do. But I've never really thought about the fact that when you are a first-time mom, I'm just thinking of myself. I was like around that child constantly. Like she wasn't going out of my sight. Like I was really like attached. So then that probably doesn't leave much room for the dad to kind of do his own bonding in a way. Would you say?
I agree. I think as first-time moms, you have this kind of protective maternal instinct over your child, and it's quite hard to trust even a lifelong partner. They would never do it as good as you, or and it's that kind of mentality, and that's quite natural. With my kids, I mean, I've always been very active in terms of being involved in their, changing their nappies and stuff. I don't like it.
No one does. We don't love it either,
but it's particularly when I know that if my wife needed a rest and I can see that she's tired, then I would say I would do it. Is it the expectation, however, and I know this sounds awful, and it probably was just my mindset, but the expectation was for my wife to do it naturally. If the baby needed changing or anything like that, then naturally I would think my wife would do it, and if not, then I would ask permission. Do you want me to change it? Rather than, when you think of it, roles reversed. Would my wife ever ask me to change? No, she would never. She would just get up and do it. Whereas I would say, do you want me to feed him? Do you want me to? So I guess it's quite natural for moms to take an active role and for dads to take that secondary role.
How do you think that becoming a father has changed you as a person?
Wow. I mean, it's a life-changing experience, isn't it? Just in itself. As soon as you see that child, everything changes. Your mindset changes. How you act, how you speak, how you think. Everything, literally everything. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know how I would feel.
Verbalize that.
Kids, it'd be crazy.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy. Yeah, it's definitely big.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I couldn't imagine life without my children, and I lived a very selfish life before my kids. Because now everything I do, my whole being is about my children. Like the clothes that I put on in the morning, the food that I eat when I go to the gym, like everything is about how I could be the best version of me for my kids. If I go to work, if I'm being an example of something, is this how I want my kids to be? If I'm, so I often say to my girl kids, you need to find an example, or you need to see a man that has qualities that what I've got. And I say to my boys, you need to have qualities of what mum's got. When you find your lifelong partner, everything that we do is about how are we going to impact our children. And I feel like that's the fundamental change that fatherhood has done to me anyway. I'm constantly thinking about my kids and what I do. How does that affect or not affect them in some ways?
When you first found out that you were going to be a dad, what was your initial emotion or reaction? Did you feel, was it fear, happiness?
Oh, you know what? I was just like a really giddy, excited kid. Like I was very apprehensive, and I was like, am I ready? Can I do this? What do I need to do? But at the same time, I was like, actually, like this is pretty amazing. How am I being given a gift of life? Like, how God has just trusted me and said, right, here you go, True, I'm giving you something that you've created. And for me, I didn't take that lightly, and I just thought, wow, like this is incredible, this is amazing. And I just gave all thanks to God, because a lot of people can't have children, and we was fortunate enough to be gifted.
Were you there at the births? What was that experience like then?
It was a C-section, so it wasn't really
the drama of the
I haven't seen that full. I haven't had the full birthing experience. Did you?
I did, yeah. From my wife went into labour. She was in labour for a very long, I think like 4 days. She was induced.
Wow.
So I was there constantly, and I sung to her, I got on her nerves. I spoke to her, I got on her nerves. I held her hand, I got on her nerves. I turned my left, I turned my head right, I got on her nerves. But the whole process for me was incredible. And when, the baby was coming, I was filming, I got on her nerves. But, it was, I seen her breathe, I seen her go through the motions.
Yeah.
I seen the pain, she cried, and then literally as the baby came out, it was almost like she was laughing, all the pain had disappeared,
like it just didn't happen,
like nothing happened. And I was like, huh? You was just in extreme agony, and now, like, literally a second after, you are absolutely fine. Like, I don't understand.
It is,
but
it's crazy.
It was a very surreal experience, and probably one of the best experiences of my life, and it would always walk with me.
It's like, even though it's happening and you're speaking about it and you're prepared for that moment when the water breaks, or it's that time, when that happens, there is still like a freak out moment. I remember my partner was just like, he was prepared, we knew what the plan was and what to do, but at the moment when it happened, it was just like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Like running all around the house, like, get the bag, like proper freak out. But then when we got to the hospital, it was like he was a rock. And I think it is a lot on a woman, obviously, giving birth and having a baby, but there is pressure on the man as well to be supportive, like knowing that you're the person that's supposed to help this person go through this most painful thing that they've ever been through. And sometimes if they don't have the drugs, you are literally the only thing that's going to keep them going through that. So that's a lot to have on your shoulders. It's scary. So how do you get the balance right between teaching your kids about society and things that they may face, being a black person in the world today, but still allow them to kind of keep their innocence and childhood?
I don't, if I'm being honest. I think particularly for me and my children, we're at a time where I need to put things into context. We live in Sutton. My children go to a predominantly white school. Yeah. There are very little black kids in that school, and there are no black staff whatsoever. Really? In that school. And often my child comes home, and there's one particular child that comes home and he doesn't always feel like he fits in, and actually literally on Friday he was basically saying that, why does he have to be different? Why can't he be the same? I've seen him, I've gone onto his room and I've seen him like trying to swish his hair over to the side with gel because his hair's different to everyone else's. And I guess for me it's all about telling him how amazing he is, how gifted he is, and now, like, particularly with the hair issue, once I seen that hair issue, I was like, right, you need to sort this. You need to have hair like Daddy. So I take him to the barbers with me, and make sure he gets his hair in the same style that I get it done, so I can be, and I can say, well, look, Daddy's got the same hair. Like, if we dye our hair, I dye it with, we dye the same hair colour. If I have a line, he has the same line, and I do that just to show him that actually Daddy's got the same hair as you. Daddy's got this. Daddy's got that. So you don't need to feel like you're different to everybody else. But it's difficult. It's difficult because you work your entire life to provide the best for your family and to give them the best education and to give them the best this and that. But then actually, I was saying to my wife the other day, I just want to take him to a school in Les Halles and Aston and because then he will feel more at home. He will feel more like his people are there. It's just such a difficult balance.
And I can understand what it is like for him as the child, because I grew up in Gloucester. So there are quite a few black people in Gloucester, but I went to an all-girls grammar school where there was only me and one other black child in my whole year at school. That was it. So my experience of school, I did have those feelings of like being different and not fully feeling like you fit in with everyone. And it could even just be simple things like what you have in your lunchbox. Like you might have like some jerk chicken or something in a sandwich, and then everyone's kind of like, oh, what's that? Like smells interesting.
Yeah.
Things like that, or your hair, like the hair thing as well. So then I grew up and I got a relaxer when I was at school because I just wanted my hair to be easier and not, kind of the same as other people's. And I wanted to be able to do like similar things with my hair. So I think it was growing up and becoming an adult. Like it took me a while to kind of just accept myself for who I am. And then you also get the other side of it where you kind of learn a lot from your peers. So you might see things differently or speak differently to how the other black kids might speak. Like my sisters went to a comprehensive school and I just could not mesh with their friends and stuff because they all thought I was a snob or I spoke too posh or I thought I was like nicer than everyone. It's crazy. And it's very difficult to know how to kind of balance that because you want them to get a good education, which is why I was sent to that school. But then you also want them to be comfortable in their own skin. It's tricky. What was your relationship like with your own father? Go on, let's talk black dads generations ago.
It was hardly anything. There was nothing there. I mean, obviously I have very vague memories. I think it was something where I seen him maybe, I call it 4 or 5 times in a year. And the worst thing about it is he lived literally 30 seconds. Like I could see his flat from my house.
That's crazy.
Man, he was just who he was, innit? And that wasn't. It was a guy that just didn't care. Like,
what about now in adulthood? Do you speak to him?
So very rarely. Like he would send me a text, be like, "Oh, stay safe." I'm like, bro, I'm 30 years old. You've missed out on absolutely everything. Too late to tell me to stay safe, stay out of trouble. You know,
stop it.
I've done that now. Like I don't need that. You know what it was for me, and it was. I've got a younger sister as well, and she literally just cut herself away from him like altogether, which is completely fine, and I get that. I think the difference for me was I was like a little bit older when he was kind of there and kind of in and out, and so I had a bit more of a bond with him. So as I'm older, I'll respond to his messages. You know, I'm going to see him out, I'll just say safe or whatever else, but I won't go out of my way to contact him and say, oh look, what's going on, like let's link up and let's do this and that. And even now, like he doesn't try and do that. I think the last time he spoke to me was I think it was like September last year, and then he messaged me maybe last week and was like, oh, how's things? Brethren, don't come to me 6 months down the line asking me how things are. Like, I'm not saying you have to message me every day, but you're my dad. You understand? You're meant to be there. A majority of the time, and from you can't do that. It's nothing to me. You know what I mean? He's gonna be my dad, and he'll be my father as long as I live. But a dad, nah.
What about you, True?
My dad showed me everything to not do to be a very good dad. Very non-existent. If I'd seen him in town, I couldn't tell you who he was. I couldn't point him out to you. The generation before us, I feel like, was absolutely horrific in terms of father and fatherhood and being there at home. And he was one of those statistics. He just wasn't there. I mean, I had an amazing stepdad, which filled quite a lot of the gap. But in terms of my own biological father, I couldn't tell you where he is, what he does, who he is, what he likes, what colour he likes, And for me, I'm actually all right and at peace with that. I feel like I don't actually need him. I don't feel like I need him in my life. I don't feel like, you hear a lot of people say, oh, there's a missing hole and you've got to do this and you've got to do that or you'll never be. No, I feel like I'm actually okay with not having him around and not being around. And but I couldn't tell you who he was or what he does.
So you've both come to terms with it in your own ways, your feelings about your own fathers. But then do you feel that understanding that about them and where they've come from and the generation that they came from, do you feel that you can kind of not forgive but understand how they were the people that they were?
100%. I understand it, because you see it in this day and age as well. You see a lot of black parents around who have kids that are my age now, so around that mark, you see the lifestyle that they lived back in the day. It was like a black man was just out here doing his thing, this woman, and it was like, yeah, I have kids, and that's it, just go back to business. And I don't think it was that they were so much waste men as in what we would call a waste man father now. I think it was just the
mentality,
the way,
was
it?
it?
It was just the mentality of that kind of time. So I could easily say I understand why my dad was the way he was and why he is the way he is now. You understand? I can completely...
You can get that. What about you, True?
I don't know, because I feel that every individual should be accountable for their actions, and just because it was a in thing at that time doesn't necessarily mean you should or you mustn't go against the grain, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't know wrong from right. I know that he knows wrong from right. I know that he knows or he knew what the right thing was to do, but instead he chose to do to be a sheep and follow what everybody else is doing. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I can understand, because being a father myself, I can't understand why somebody would walk away from their children that they've created. Like I just can't fathom and understand that. But in terms of being at peace with it and knowing that that's the way it is, then that's what I'm okay with. But I could never ever say or be okay with a father walking away, even if it's my own walking away from their child, just because I know being a dad, and I just know how much my kids need me, and I also know how much I need them.
Yeah.
Do you think, though, because it was different times then, that they didn't have that same mentality? So wouldn't you kind of think like,
I don't, because it's, for me, it's more about what I feel inside, and like
it's more your heart than your mind.
Whether you're in 1980s or 2020, you're going to feel the same love. Like it doesn't affect your feelings. So I don't. We're not letting him off.
Right. Something that is a bone of contention on social media is Father's Day, and when moms decide that they want to celebrate themselves on that day. And I always find it strange and just annoying, and I was just wondering what you guys feel about it. Does it bother you at all?
It's just one of my absolute pet hates. Father's Day is what it says on the tin. Father's
what it says on the tin.
And it's a day where we recognise and celebrate fathers, not mothers, fathers. And as we discussed earlier, celebrating and recognising good fathers is integral. And what I think having or celebrating Mothers and Father's Day does, it diminishes the role of a father. Because actually, as strong and as powerful and as beautiful and as intelligent and amazing women are, they can't do some things that a father does. And we need to recognise that fact, and we need to understand that fact that even Superwoman couldn't or can't do things that children need fathers to do.
That is
and there's no shame or blame in that, and it doesn't it's not seeing women as any less equal or any less than who they are. It's just a fact that they can't do some things that fathers do, and we need to make sure that we celebrate and maintain that role as a father. And it's soul crushing to see women, and even to sometimes see kids celebrating their mums on Father's Day, because they've obviously got no father, they know no better, and they think that this is the role of, well, my mum had to be father and mother. No, your mum was just mum. Your mum was just mother. And I can guarantee you, had you have had a father, a very active and good father, you would know the difference, and your life would have turned out very differently. Now, obviously, there's no guarantees, but they would have influenced you in a way, and really kind of contributed to your upbringing.
See, that's the thing. A mother can't be a father. You can take on some of the father's responsibilities, or you can cover some of the fatherly duties, but you can't be a father. You're just a mother who's having to have extra responsibilities, but that doesn't make you a dad. So I think to pipe up on Father's Day and start celebrating yourself, it's a bit much.
It's a lot, man. I've had this debate many times, and to me, I don't care if you have been a single mom the whole time. You are not a dad. You are not a father. Do not celebrate it. If the child ain't got a dad, then it's just another normal day in your household. I don't want to see that. As simple as full stop on me. I don't want to see it.
Do men ever have conversations amongst each other or pull each other up when they see that someone they know is not in their kids' lives or is not trying to be a dad? Do you ever speak to each other and say, listen, you should be doing this, or do men just turn a blind eye to that kind of thing?
I have. I have, 100%. Any man that I know, you can't come around me and I know that you're actively not doing things for your child that you should be doing, whether that's seeing them financially or just the time in itself. You can't be around me and not do that. I'll put you up on it. You know what I mean? I've had people around me, and people have had kids around me, and I say, you must go check for your kids, man. Do something, man. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I can't be arsed, or I'm doing this, and it's drama over there. I just can't be bothered with that. And it's mad because me myself as a dad, I don't have those feelings. Like my child, I'll do anything for my kids, and I couldn't imagine being a man to know I've got a child out there and think nothing of it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Imagine growing up and then your child's 18 and comes to you like, why weren't you there for me, Dad? And you're like, it was too much drama. Like, could you turn around to your 18-year-old son and say, it was too much drama. Your mom was going on stink and I just couldn't be bothered to deal with it. But you're a man now. Let's go to the pub and we can, get to know each other. It's mad.
Crazy.
Do you feel like, would you or have you spoken to someone about being a father?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's incumbent upon us too, as good fathers and as men, to speak to people who we feel are not pulling their weight, or who we know actually are not doing their bit, because the damaging effects are too much, and it's often the child that has to deal with the effects of dad not being around. So if I see somebody who's not pulling their weight, of course I'm going to be like, particularly if it's somebody who I roll with, then like we can't be cool if you're not doing stuff for your child. That can't work in my circle. And you buy your company you keep, and I'm a good dad. So
I think women have a lot of spaces in society, online, just everywhere, where they can kind of get together and talk about being a mom. There's loads of moms groups and mom platforms, just loads. Do you think that men need more stuff like that, where you can just get together as men and just do stuff as fathers and talk about your experiences as dads?
I think for me, it's something that you just need to do on your own as a father. I don't feel like you need anything and anyone else around you. I think for me, it's you and your kids. You know what I mean? I don't feel like, even I know I said obviously men deserve all the credit as much as women do, but I think when it comes to your child, you have to create that bond. No one else, and anything else that you talk about with other people, obviously experiences, but anything you talk about with anyone else, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Only you and your child know what you and your child can go through, and how you bond is between you and your child. You can't get that from anywhere else. You know what I mean? For me.
But it's support though. Like, women have support from all over the place, and I don't know if dads really have that support.
I kind of disagree in the sense that, and this is what we do as men, and as we can do this on our own. We're like the strong providers of our family, and we don't need anybody else, and actually that can have such a damaging effect on our mental well-being, and there's nothing wrong with having that support. I mean, I'm in a group called Dope Black Dads. It's an amazing platform for dope black dads who are doing their bit for their kids. So we have a WhatsApp group, we have a Instagram group. They've got a huge Instagram following, and actually if we're feeling some type of way about something, whether it's to do with our kids. So, for example, the hair issue, I went in the group and was like, how would you deal with this? And, just people saying, that's peak, this is how I would deal with it. Rare tear for me helped, and there's nothing wrong with having that support, and they are it's anomaly. It's a very small number of groups where you can sit down with other dads and go for a drink or whatever and just say, these are some of the issues that we're having, how can we discuss it and resolve it, rather than trying to burden the world and it's stuck on your shoulders thinking, men don't talk about these things, or you just got to do it yourself. Actually, there's support and there's knowledge in people who have done it before you, or have gone through a similar situation, so why not use that?
Definitely. We're going to get Sanchez into one of the seats now, because we want to talk to him about his experience of being a black dad. So I wanted to talk about when you have to kind of fight for your family, because there's a lot of men kind of believe that you will not succeed going through the courts, or if there's an issue and you have to go to court to get custody or visitation, that the court will automatically side with the woman. And so a lot of men just won't even attempt it or try to do it, because they've just got that assumption that that's how it's going to play out. So I wanted to speak to Sanchez a bit about his experience, because he does have sole custody of his son. So I just wanted to ask you, what made you decide that you wanted to go for full custody in the first place?
So basically with my son, it was a case of I just didn't feel his mum was in a position to take care of him better than I could.
Yeah.
Basically, her lifestyle, how she was living, how she moved with him, like, I seen things that I didn't appreciate. So I just went down the channels to get him, basically.
And what was the process like?
Process was long. There was a lot of mediations, social services were involved. It was a long, overwhelming process overall. And then in the end, you go through all of that and it gets to court. Basically, I was worried. I didn't think I was going to win.
You didn't?
I did, in the sense of just because of her situation and my situation, I felt I was better, but just in the sense of walking into a courtroom, like, the impression, I'd never been in a courtroom before that. Like, I didn't have reason to, so just my general impression of going to court would have been like...
a negative one.
I'm not going to win, she's mum, all of that. And then when it got down to the crunch, she never turned up to court.
She didn't even turn up?
She never turned up to court. We phoned her, where are you? Her excuse was she was doing someone's hair. So that was to the level of how much she was bothered.
Yeah.
So it was a thing from that, from the moment I walked in the courtroom, they kind of gave me the wink to say,
it's looking good.
It's done.
So
the outcome.
How old was your son when you first brought him home and you had custody of him?
So the thing with my son as well, it was a case of I had him during the whole thing. Because it was a case of I had him on the weekends, she sent him to me on the weekend. The condition he came to me in, just his clothes, his bag and stuff, I just didn't appreciate it. That's when I spoke to social, and they basically told me to hold on to him
and not send him back,
because they felt again he was safer with me than with her. And then throughout the whole mediations, court, everything, I had him anyway. I held on to him through everything, so it wasn't a case of I went to court and then it was bringing him home. He was already at home, it was just securing him there kind of thing.
So what was that feeling like?
The feeling of court, the final court hearing where they said I had him, I couldn't even explain it, to be honest. Wow. It was overwhelming. Like,
how old was he?
He was 2 months.
2 months. Wow. So what was it like taking that on, knowing that you were now going to be a single dad to a baby? Because that's daunting for a woman, and as we said earlier, women, like, you're expected to do that, and you kind of you've got that instinct. So what was that like?
Scary, as you would imagine. It was scary, overwhelming. My whole life changed. Like, it changed anyway because I had a child, but me and his mum weren't together, and so him to come live with me, obviously it was a big step, but I had a lot of support. I had a lot of family around me. I had a lot of support, so I just took it on. And
what were your fears like? What was the main thing that you thought that terrified you about it?
Getting it wrong. as I think, again, a lot of people think, like, because with parenting, it's kind of trial and error, isn't it? Like, there's things that you've learned from your parents and picked up from your parents, of course, but then a lot of it, when you're left in the room, you and your baby, 3 o'clock in the morning, are crying. You know what I mean? You're half asleep, like... it's trial and error, and it's all a learning curve, but I don't know, the love I have for my son, like, I couldn't explain it, you know what I mean? So, as most parents, it's the same, so, like, you'll do anything for them. So the fears, like I said, there was fears, but they will go away. Like, you just battle on, and you take each day as it comes. That's your child at the end of the day. And like I said, the love I had for him, obviously I have for him, it's like there's nothing like it.
What do you think is one of the biggest issues that a dad faces if a relationship doesn't work out?
If the relationship doesn't work out,
what are the things that worry you or concern you?
And the child's obviously the child.
I
think if the mum and the dad don't get on, I think a lot of it backs down to how they've broken up and the relationship they have as just people in general. If you've come out of a very toxic relationship and the both of you are at loggerheads all the time, it's not going to work well, is it? Like, and it's a battle. And obviously, when a mum's got the child, it's like, mum, if you're a dad and you haven't got your child and the mum's got the child, it's kind of like mum's law, isn't she? Like, and I've been in them. I'm in that position with my son because I'm mum and dad to him, and it's like, so whatever I say with him, it goes. As a dad, because I've got my other son now with another mum, and like I see it from the whole other side where I'm dad but she's mum, and she kind of has like, so now you have to compromise, and you're used to just being what you say goes. Son, it was kind of like what I say is law kind of thing. I've done, you know what I mean? So okay, it depends on the individuals, and like if you're willing to compromise and get along for the sake of the child, or if you still have issues between you two where you're going to be at loggerheads every time, then in that sense you need to mediate where you do what's best for the child. As long as the dad's seeing his child, then you two, it doesn't matter. Like,
you know what, I think, sorry to jump in, but I think that's correct. But one of my fears, and I see it time and time again, is the mum using the child as a weapon. And the dad could be one of the best dads, but the mum, because she's a woman scorned, particularly if the dad has found somebody else and moved on, she uses the child as a weapon and stops the child from seeing dad. And for me, it's just, I can't ever comprehend why you would punish your child for the actions of two grown people. And that's and that's an epidemic and something that's constantly happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's something that happens a lot but people are reluctant to talk about, like in particular women? Because I know when I've seen these debates and discussions online, a lot of people don't want to accept that there are women out there that do that. They would rather deflect it to, well, how do you know that man even wants to see his kids? He's probably just a dad who's not interested. People would deflect it away because they don't want to accept the fact that there are women out there who will use a child to get back at the child's father, completely disregarding the effect that that's going to have on the child.
Absolutely. I think we live in a day and age where it's quite difficult because mums are the maternal carer and the primary carer, so to speak. And particularly if in all other aspects the mum's a good mum, it's just this one thing that she's not letting the child see dad is the thing that is their flaw. But no one would see that because they just see all the good stuff that mum's doing, and people just don't want to recognise it. They don't want to see it. They don't believe it's happening, and it is one of the most upsetting things. I hate it. I absolutely hate it when I see mums stopping or preventing dad from seeing their children because they're not happy, and they put it down to, I don't know the woman that he's bringing around my child. I don't know. I need to know her. I need to know the place that he's going to be. Actually, sweetheart, dad's in a position to make the right decision for his judgment. Child, because he loves that child too. So if he's trusting somebody around him, it means that he's trusting that person around his child. And forget all the excuses. Actually, the real reason is you don't want dad to be around the child because you want to bond him for some reason.
Especially if you had no concerns about his judgment during the relationship, but then afterwards it's suddenly, I don't know if you're going to look after the child properly. So it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, I think, and I think it's probably one that we probably need to talk about more. Like, there needs to be more conversations between men and women. Just communication is key in a situation like this.